Ah, ah, ha ha! I got it. Suck it, Steam Labs. You can't about my night. Ah! Okay. That was so scary though, real talk. Cause the bar wasn't even there for me to adjust my audio. Oh god. Okay. Hey, you know what? Mulligan. Let's just start over. Alright. So disclaimer. I am not an expert. I shouldn't say I'm not a professional. I have I've how do you man, I said this so good one time and then I was muted. I do have knowledge of how to build Pokemon for competitive battling. I myself have never competed in like a professional or official tournament, but my friends and I set up little tournaments with each other. We like testing our skills, checking out what Pokemon we bring, strategies, that kind of stuff. So I'm very familiar with all this. But if you do know something more, if I say something incorrectly, you have other tips you think I should have added, anything like that, please leave them in the comments. Sound off if you're watching this live. I'm all about it. Like, the more we learn, the better we are. And the easier it'll be for me to kick my friends' butts. Okay. So there we go. Kind of what we're going to be going over. The overview here. We're going to look at types, their stats, natures of the Pokemon, how it will affect them, types of moves, EV and IV and EVs, field and terrain effects, and status conditions. So just like the very basic stuff that you will need to know when you are battling your Pokemon in trainer versus trainer. Probably not as important trainer versus computer, but you know, learning all this will make it that much easier for you to kill them, you know? Okay. It's part one here. We got the type chart. Currently, there is 18 types. When the next Scarlet and Violet DLC come out, there's apparently gonna be like another type. So we'll see how this all changes. Sounds really fun, Sally. You've never played a Pokemon related game? Oh. Bro, I'm sorry. I think they're really fun. If you have a Switch, Scarlet and Violet are on the Switch, and the DLC is still coming out, which they're gonna add a 19th type, which is nuts to me. I don't know how that's gonna fall into play, but I really like it. I mean, hopefully you still have fun watching this if you want to hang out. Well, yeah. Oh, I'm kind of in the way. Let me lean over a little bit. All right. So this type chart is how you will see if things are super effective, not very effective, or neutral damage. So let's say for normal, my attacker is using a normal type move, right? If they attack a ghost type, 0. That means it is ineffective. The ghost will take 0 damage from any normal type attack I do. So you don't want to do that. Example, if I have a fighting type move and I hit a normal type Pokemon with it, times 2. So it's going to do super effective damage. It'll do times 2 damage. Only 15 years old and it's LOL. Right? Alright. And then let's say my water type is hitting another water. So half damage. Not very effective. You always want to try and be doing, you know, the super effective damage. That's where the numbers are. That's what we want to see. Pokemon can have dual types, as in the defender may be like a, let's example, just a bug rock type, right? If I use, let's see, if he's bug rock type, and I use, what's a good example for this? Okay, bug rock type, and I hit it with a grass move. So the bug resists grass moves, but Grass is super effective on rock. So what you do to calculate kind of your damage is these two together. So if you multiply these out, it's gonna be 1, the 1. So it'll be neutral damage. If, say, I have a poison ground type and I use a psychic attack on it, 2 times 2, 4. You're gonna be like super duper times 4, quad weakness, I believe they call it, to that. So that's gonna unga bunga numbers. It's good if you can hit them with that. And something else is stab. So what stab means is that, say, I have a fire type Pokemon, and they use a fire type move. That move is going to have 1.5 times damage multiplier, because them being fire is giving them a boost to using their fire type moves. So it's good to have that on somebody, like any Pokemon you have, to have them have a move that has stab, because you're going to be getting a big number. But you can't have, like, if I have a fire type Pokemon, all 4 of his moves shouldn't be fire, just so you have coverage. Because something else they introduced in the newest game, Scarlet and Violet, was terrestrializing. So that means any of these attacks, or any of these types, I should say, that my Pokemon has, or the opponent even too, they can switch them to any other type at any time. Granted, only 1 Pokemon in the match can terrestrialize during that match, but still, like, say I had an electric move, right? I was about to hit this water guy. If he terrestrializes into a ground type, not effective anymore. I get 0 damage, and he probably gets a free hit. So it's super important to keep this in mind. I mean, in the newest ones, I believe it was in Sword and Shield 2, the generation before Scarlet and Violet here, the game will tell you if you're about to do a super effective move or not. But because of terrestrializing, it's good to just kind of have that read and know ahead of time. Like, if you can predict something, like if I can predict this guy's about to change his whatever type to something else, you know, I will know. And we can, like, bust out a move that might hurt him more. Alright, next, stats. So each Pokemon has 6 stats. HP, special attack, attack, special defense, defense, and speed. HP is hit points. That's the important one. That if your HP goes to 0, that's it. That Pokemon's out. And when you're battling, at least in trainer versus trainer matches, you can't really use a revival. You can't really use stuff like that to just bring them back, so he's gone. That's it. And then special attack and attack. I think I talk more about it on another slide, so we'll hold off on that. But these are the stats. Speed is the other super important one, but I know I for sure have another slide about that later on. Okay. So base stats, what this means is that your Pokemon has the total this. Like, without any, like, natures, EVs, any of that kind of stuff applied to him, that his base stats will be a total of this. So this is an example for Typhlosion. He's my favorite Pokemon. I'll probably use his as an example every chance I get. But base stats. So he has 534. And why this is important is because, like, speed is what determines who goes first, right? So even if this guy's level 100, if he has a bad nature and he's not EV trained, his speed is going to be about 184. But, say if this guy is level, even though he's level 50, if his nature is one that benefits that, and he's EV trained, he's going to outspeed the level 100 guy. Basically, is what that means. So the EV training, super important. Will definitely save you in battles if you ever do any. Okay. Natures. So we were talking about the natures being, like, hindering or bad for him. So what that means is that, say, well, if he had the nature that was increasing speed, right? So let's just find that one. So like say he had hasty. Hasty nature means that their speed is going to be 10% boosted, but their defense is going to be 10% decreased. And so like on a Pokemon like that's very reliant on their speed or attack, yeah, you can, say, oh, fuck it. They don't need special attack if they're going to be a physical attacker. Totally fine. They can lose that to get that bonus, right? There are like some like these that are completely neutral where they don't give bonuses. Bashful, docile, hardy, quirky, serious. Those are all natures that are completely neutral. They won't give you any boosts and they don't increase anything though. Decrease anything, sorry. Something to introduce though is Scarlet and Violet that makes this part so easy. Because before, it's like you had to catch a Pokemon with the nature or breed one out. Those were your options before. But now, in Scarlet and Violet, there's actually mints that you can feed to your Pokemon to change their nature. I don't believe it changes like the name. Like say you have a Cyndaquil that has a naughty nature, right? You can feed it the mint to get the different stat. Like you're probably going to give one to give it more special attack. So you do that. It'll still be called like a naughty nature, but it'll have the actual stats it needs to be a good boy. And so then just like there's neutrals like normal natures, there's also neutral mints. So it's like serious. Oh, I guess they're all called serious. Well then. Anyway, so those ones they'll make it all neutral. They won't give them any boosts, but you don't lose anything either. Okay, so let's move on. These are the types of moves you have. And this is why we have special attack versus attack and special defense versus defense. So, example. This move Power Trip, you see this like angry thing here? I hope you can see my mouse. This like angry dude at the bottom left of the Power Trip attack. That means it's a physical attack. Echoed Voice, this one in the middle. This symbol, special attack. And Tail Whip is a status move. It's going to look like the yin-yang thing over here. So, like moves that are physical, to calculate damage, they will use the Pokemon's attack. If you're getting hit with a physical move, your Pokemon will use its defense to calculate damage, how much it can defend. And then, same exact thing with special, except special attack when you're attacking with it, and it's your special defense when you're defending against it. Status moves are quirky. They don't really use your attack or defense. There are like some exceptions to the rule, but most of them are just like Tail Whip. They'll increase or decrease statuses, basically. Stuff like, I think, that cause status conditions, like Thunder Wave, are also a status move. That would make sense. I don't have it on here, but they're special moves, I betcha. Alright. IVs. What are IVs? They are hidden numbers which dictate why one Pokemon will be better or worse stats than the other of a same species. So, sorry, I couldn't get super duper awesome examples of this because this is a Tinkatink and this is an Eevee. But it's going to show you anyway what I'm trying to show. Okay. So IVs are what goes into these hidden values that make their attack a little bit better or a little bit worse. Stuff like that. So on this Tink, it has overall good stats. Decent, very good, decent, pretty good, pretty good. So that's going to be, this Tinkatunk is pretty good overall. You know, you'll probably find a better one, but that's okay. This Eevee, however, decent, best, very good, best. And look at this. And then these little arrows on the side too are also nature. So this one's nature, Rash, is increasing its special attack, but lowering its special defense. So depending on what evolution you make this into, this is going to be a really, really strong one. Very strong. This one, the modest nature, special attack up, attack down, I'm pretty sure is awful for Tinkatink. 99% sure Tink uses attack with every single one of its moves, especially its signature move, Gigaton Hammer or whatever that's called. I don't have a Tink, I'm sorry. But so that's what IVs are. And in Scarlet and Violet, this is how you check them. You'll go onto this wheel and it literally just tells you. I believe there's a similar system in Sword and Shield. I don't know how you check it on the other older games. I'm so sorry. That's on me. I should have looked into that more. But this is kind of focusing more on Scarlet and Violet stuff because that's where we're at right now. Because we're still in Scarlet and Violet, the game. The DLC is still coming out, I believe, this month? I think this month, actually. But in Scarlet and Violet, so you can get bottle caps. If you go to this guy in the Ghost Gym town, I forget its name, you can give him bottle caps, and he will make that stat hyper-trained, which will turn it into the best. Like, its numbers will be the best. This is awesome if you're going to use it competitively, because then, boom, you already have a perfect mon. You don't even need to work at it. You just give him this guy bottle caps, boom, best. You in it to win it. The only thing it doesn't really work on is if you have a Pokemon and you want to breed for like a really, really good shiny. I mean, yeah, you can take mom and dad to Bottle Cap Man, even if they are poo-poo stats, and he'll make them really, really good. But these bottle cap training do not carry over genetically. So you won't be able to use that mon to breed to get a really good genetic. Because genetics, they'll carry from their natural stats and IVs. We could get in deeper, because I do really like the breeding mechanics, I guess, in Pokemon. I think it's really interesting how the family trees can affect how it performs. But that's like an entirely different class, so we're just gonna move on. EVs! And oh my goodness, let me tell you. Okay, let me read the definition first before we get into this. EVs, also known as effort values, are stats your Pokemon gain from defeating or catching specific Pokemon. Now, let me tell you, before Scarlet and Violet, you would spend weeks, months, years training. No, I'm kidding. Probably not that long. But it felt like it. Because when you're defeating Pokemon, you usually get, I think the most EV you can get is 3. Before Scarlet and Violet, it was 3. And if you look at this build here, this Hisuian Typhlosion build is requesting 252 special attack EVs. Okay? And yeah, let's just say you were lucky, you found like where a really good spawn was for something that drops 3 EVs of special attack. 250 food divided by 3. That's how many things you had to kill. Or catch, I guess, if you wanted to be that guy. So, in Scarlet and Violet, I should have put a picture of it on here for us. But you can actually buy training weights, which make it so, depending on which stat the training weight is for, you will gain 8 points in that stat, plus whatever the kill is. So it took it from having to kill like 50, 60, whatever, however many mons, to like 10, 11, 12, you know? It was such a godsend. It made training actually decent. That's kind of the reason I'm even getting into like the competitive stuff for this generation. But yeah. So in Scarlet and Violet, this is what your EV checker is going to look like. This yellow is kind of, I always thought of it as like their base stat, kind of like their natural growths. But this darker yellow, that's your EV training cooking in. And that is what, 252 special attack? It'll go all the way to attack because that's the most you can have trained at any stat is 252. That stat is fully maxed. You have trained it to death. It has mastered it. 252 to here. That's the max. Speed is also at 252 here. And then 4 points in the special defense. So you can't even really see it. But yeah, that's where that one is. And I believe it's something like every 4 points of EV trained equals 1 stat point. So let's say he had 100 special defense before this. After training for 4 points of EVs in special defense, your boy will now have 101 special defense. Which, yeah, it's 1 point, but think of it as even a way, if it was HP, like 1 HP can like save or break you. It really can. So that's why EV training is so important. And we kind of went over it with the speed thing too. Like just speed training, if like you're aiming to go first, just speed training, it's gonna make or break. It will. Because someone who's EV trained in speed has almost, in my experience, has almost always outsped someone who wasn't, unless they're using a priority move. And I'm pretty sure I have a slide about priority moves a little later. They're a little bit different, a little bit weird. But yeah. Also, this is on Smogon. Smogon and Cerebi are godsends. I visit those almost every day when I'm like working with the Pokemon I have. Smogon gives you really cool build ideas. Like this build here was one of the suggestions on Smogon for Hisuian Typhlosion. I'm pretty sure it's actually the exact build I have in mind, minus the... Well, no, I think mine has the heavy-duty boots. But yeah, so this is pretty much the build my Hisuian Typhlosion even has on my Scarlet account. Ooh. Ah, look at that! Right, next slide. Alright, speed and priority. Higher the priority, the sooner you get to go. If a priority ties, say you both use Helping Hand, they will use speed to calculate. So if you both use Helping Hand, if your Mon has 1 more speed point than the other one, he gets to go first. That's it. So speed is super important there, but also it's not worth everything, you know? Because whether you have 1 more speed point or you have 100 more speed points, it doesn't matter. Because it's the same result. You will go before the other guy. So that's why it's the most efficient if you can train your Mons to just have 1 more speed point than the other guy. Like, that's literally all you need. But of course, you're not going to know what the other guy has for Mons, so that's where it comes. That's why my guys have maxed out speed, because I'm like, I'm going first. I need to go first. My plays need me to go first. I'm going first. There are negative priorities, such like Vital Throw, Focus Punch, da-da-da. Those all mean that that Mon is going to be set back in the order of the turn. So like Trick Room, you're almost always going to go last if you're setting up Trick Room. There are some Mons that have the Prankster ability, and abilities are a whole nother beast. Like we could do another class on abilities and stuff. But the ability Prankster, it makes it so if you're using a status move like we talked about, you get +1 in your priority. So even if like that Prankster Pokemon isn't the fastest, if he's using a status move, he might get to go first. Which is great, because say I have a Pokemon with Prankster and they use Thunder Wave, they're going to get to go before anybody. And if I paralyze my opponent, if we're 1-on-1, there's a chance now he doesn't get to move, right? So that's a free move for me. So priority, super important. Speed, also kind of important. But, you know, not the end of the world if you're not fast. Items. Give them to your Pokemon. Competitive, I just put this on here because it's worth noting. If you are doing like an official rules set game, you can't have doubles of items or Pokemon. So what that means is your team can't have 6 EVs all with Evolite on them, you know? Like, you can't have more than 1 Pokemon with a Focus Sash. That kind of stuff. Not a whole lot to say. Again, kind of their own beast. I use Cerebi mostly because there's so many items that they kind of help me decide what goes where. Field effects. This is where things get thick, because there's so much text and we need to go over a lot. Because these, to me, they always seemed like they were so like, whatever, who cares? But after playing Scarlet and Violet and doing like these competitive matches with my friends, I see now how important some of these are. And how much they can like win you the match if you do it right, play it right. Yeah, the last slide was so blank because I knew the next few were going to have so much text. So, okay, field effects. These aren't new, but I don't really remember using them a whole lot before Scarlet and Violet. So, I mean, the whole slideshow has kind of been focusing on Scarlet and Violet, so... So, field effects. We got electric terrain, grassy, ice, misty, psychic, steel roller. This is the type. So, electric terrain. Prevents Pokemon on the ground from sleeping and boosts the effectiveness of electric type moves on grounded Pokemon by 30% and will last 5 turns. Something else though to note about electric terrain, these future Paradox Pokemon, I'm pretty sure all of them, if not 99% of them, have this Quirk Drive thing. The past Pokemon have this too, but it's for sunny days, not for like a terrain effect. But anyway, they will get a boost to their best stat if they're in the electric terrain, these future Paradoxes. And there are some Pokemon whose abilities are to literally, once you put them on the field, to shoot out this terrain. So you can already like start to feel some strategies forming, right? That's how effective these are. Let's talk about the next one. Grassy terrain. Heals 6.25 HP of Pokemon on the ground per turn. Increases damage to grass type moves by 30%, and this will last 5 turns. Pretty sure they all last around 5 turns. TBH. But Grassy, I haven't seen that one used a whole lot. Ice, I won't lie, I've literally never seen this one used. The move destroys any terrain and does not fail even if the ground hasn't been turned into a terrain. So I guess that's why I haven't seen it. Misty Terrain. This one's also super hype. This protects Pokemon on the ground from status conditions and halves damage from Dragon-type moves for 5 turns. So, protects from status conditions. We're going to talk about it after the terrain's here, but this is huge. It can save you health. It can save you losing turns. It's so good. Also, Dragon's just like a really, really strong typing. So anything to like negate that damage, super, super impressive. Psychic Terrain. Protects Pokemon on the ground from priority moves and powers up Psychic type moves by 30% for 5 turns. So we were talking about priority. Priority moves get to go first. So if you have protection from that, and say your Pokemon can take out their Pokemon that's about to use a priority move, boom, you just saved yourself. Steamroller. These are attacks while destroying the terrain. The move fails if the ground hasn't been turned to a terrain. Yeah, again, literally never seen anyone use this move, but I had to include it because it's part of the thing. Like, all right, field effects. These are things get thick. These are also some of my favorite strategies to use, so I think they're super cool. First one that we're gonna do is Sunlight. So what Sunlight does, when you see this on the field, this is what it's doing. It's not just sunnier out now. It's not just brighter. Things are happening. Sunlight. Fire-type moves receive a power boost. Water-type moves will be reduced. So your fire types, gonna be stronger. Water types, gonna be weaker. By the way, can you change Pokemon mid-turn? Let's say to place a field effect for a monster and use the other one. Unfortunately, no. You cannot switch Pokemon mid-turn. There are some moves you can use to like swap them out as their move. For example, I use U-turn on my Zoroark. Like if I see he's in a situation he's not going to get out of, I will tell him to use U-turn. And that's a bug move that runs up, hits the other Pokemon, and he pieces out. And you can switch him that turn. Otherwise, to switch your Mon, it's a whole turn. So if you wanted to put the field down, let's say I send out my Psychic Terrain Pokemon, send him out, he sets up the terrain, I would have to wait until next turn to swap him back out, and then send in somebody. And sending in that somebody will be their turn, so they don't get to move. So that's why Pokemon that have abilities like Psychic Surge, Electric Surge, if you release them, that's just their ability. They just send out the terrain. And then that same turn you can switch them out and then switch in your other Mon, but that Mon won't get to attack. So it would be a lot cooler if we could do it mid-turn. That'd be super just... But unfortunately, no. And I think that's a power balancing thing that they put in. Let's see. Good question. Good question. Thank you. Next, about sunlight. 2-turn powerful grass type moves like Solar Beam will no longer need charging because they can be used consecutively. So I used a sunlight team when I was battling my friends, and it did really, really well. Literally everyone used Solar Beam because Solar Beam's a super high power, high damaging move. The trade-off though is usually you would have to wait a turn for your Pokemon to charge up to use the beam. But with Sunlight, they don't need to charge. They just rip it off one turn after the other, constantly. So that was really fun. There's also Pokemon with abilities that, like, their speed will be doubled in the Sunlight. Their attack will be doubled in Sunlight. And I had some Paradox Pokemon that, their speed, special attack, like, it was the same thing for them as it was for the Futures in Electric terrain. The past ones in Sunlight, whatever their best stat is, gets, like, super boosted. And there's also Pokemon, like, I believe the ability is called Drought, where as soon as you send them out, they'll set up the Sunlight. It won't take their turn. You can still do something else with their turn, but just them being on the field will cause there to be Sunlight. I had a Pokemon do that. He's one of the legendaries in Scarlet, the Koraidon. That's his ability. He just puts out Sunlight. And there's items to make Sunlight last longer, all that good stuff. Healing moves like Synthesis, Morning Sun, and Moonlight will be more effective. So bigger heals. Thunder and Hurricane accuracy are reduced. Obviously, because it's not storming, right? We love that. Oh, here it is. The ability Okra Pulse not only activates Sunlight, but will increase the user's attack stat. So that's the difference with Okra and Pulse. It'll put out the sun, but also attack boost. Pokemon with the ability Chlorophyll get a speed increase. I don't know all of them. I know the one I used that has Chlorophyll was a Leafeon, and that's his hidden ability. Hidden abilities you can't be taught. You need to, like, use a ability patch on them. So it's a big investment, but boy did it pay off, because nothing outsped that Leafeon. Oh my god. Pokemon with the ability Leaf Guard are immune to status conditions. Pretty straightforward. And Pokemon with the ability with Solar Power will lose HP but gain attack. Special attack, sorry. I'll be honest, I don't know what Pokemon have this ability. I can see it working. Gaining special attack. If they gain enough and they're just a glass cannon, then, I mean, not unheard of. But again, I don't know any Pokemon with this. I've never seen anybody use one. And that was Sunlight. Moving on. And then, very contrast to Sunlight, we have Rain. Sorry, I couldn't get a Scarlet and Violet pick. The Rain makes that really shit vision. I'm so sorry. But basically the opposite of Sunny Day. Water type moves up, fire type down. Very straightforward. Solar Beam has to take an extra charge now. Turn to charge up, sorry. So instead of going turn 1, charging up, turn 2, Solar Beam. Now we're charging, finally Solar Beam. And I'll tell you, by the time you charge twice, they've either set up to, like, attack boosting things, or you're dead. So, healing moves like Synthesis, Morning Sun, and Moonlight are less effective, less heals. Thunder Hurricane will bypass accuracy checks. I'll be real, I haven't tested this myself in Scarlet and Violet, but I knew in the older games, like, I believe Fire Red, this worked at least. If it was raining and you used Thunder, it was a guaranteed hit, because it was already storming, right? Thunder's a super high power electric move. The trade-off is usually its accuracy is poo-poo dog water. But, hey, if it's raining, you get a guaranteed hit. Pokemon with the ability Swift Swim get a speed boost. So kind of the same as Chlorophyll, except for water. I believe I had a Buizel that knew this. He didn't get used much though, but God bless Buizel. The abilities like Dry Skin and Rain Dish recover HP. Pretty straightforward. I'm not sure which Pokemon have these, but again, Smogon will be your best friend. Smogon and Cerebi, they show you everything about Pokemon, who has what abilities, all that good stuff. And Pokemon with the ability Hydration will automatically cure status conditions. Sick. Oh, Sorry, this is supposed to say it's like snow, powder snow, snowy day, something like that. I'm so sorry. That's my bad. Didn't spell check my own PowerPoint. Oof. This is kind of a newer one. I don't remember. I don't think it was in Sword and Shield at the very least. But basically, so the snow makes Ice-type Pokemon's defense go up. Very cool. Ice are very known to be very fragile. They have so many weaknesses, I feel so bad for them. Blizzard will now bypass accuracy checks. So again, Blizzard, super strong ice move. The trade-off was, or it used to be, it had very poo-poo accuracy. But now, if it's snowing, you get a guaranteed hit. Amazing. The healing moves are less effective again. Pokemon with the ability like Ice Body will have some of their HP restored every turn. Again, sorry, I'm not sure which Pokemons have that, but that's super cool. Like, if you can heal a few HP, then hey, that's a few more turns you get to survive and do some cooking. Pokemon with the ability Slush Rush get a speed boost. Pokemon with the ability Snow Cloak have higher evasiveness. My girl Frostlass has that. Oh, it gets spicy. Because they can increase their speed, and if their evasiveness is going up too, game over, man. You're never gonna hit her. Alright, Sandstorm, for real this time. Again, couldn't find a decent picture of it in Scarlet. So sorry. One sec, let me get a drink. My throat is, like, hurting. Oh, man. Sandstorm. Ground, Rock, and Steel-type Pokemon are immune to Sandstorm damage. So if you get a whole team of that type and you put out Sandstorm, that's chip damage your opponent's going to get the entire match that you're not going to have. One of my friends actually uses this strategy a lot because he loves Rock and Ground types. Good for him. It annoys me so much. Okay. Rock-type Pokemon will get a special defense boost. Amazing. Healing moves like Synthesis Morning Sun less effective, but Shore Up recovers 50% of HP. Shore Up is another healing move that only ground types know, as far as I know. Solar Beam will lose power, so no extra charges if you're trying to use your Solar Beam still. But it's not going to hit very hard, which for the trade-off of having to charge it up for a turn really sucks. Ground, Rock, and Steel types with the ability Sand Force will gain strength. Pokemon with the ability Sand Veil have higher evasiveness. Same as Snow Cloak, you're not going to hit them. Pokemon with the ability Sand Rush get speed boost. They get faster. They'll go first. Also, as far... Well, I shouldn't say it's the only one, but Sandstorm is kind of the one weather ability I always think of. Because it can happen naturally. I mean, I guess so can rain in other ones in Pokemon, but I've never seen Sunny Day just happening. Whereas like Sandstorm, if you go in the desert, it's guaranteed to be a sandstorm. Which is kind of neat, I think. Oh, is that it? Okay. Alright. We're on the home stretch. Next, we're going to talk about status conditions. So, on top of the field effects, your Pokemon will also have to deal with status conditions. There's a few, there's a lot of text, but it's important. The first one, the one that I feel is like the most common when you think of like status condition, is poison. So, Pokemon that have been poisoned, their HP is reduced at the end of every turn. The amount of HP that is reduced is 1/8 of their maximum HP. So it's not like a flat number, it'll be 1/8 of their health that they lose every turn. If it doesn't faint, the poison Pokemon will still have its poison condition even after the battle is over. So, it doesn't, I don't recall it happening in Scarlet, but in older games, if you get poisoned in a battle, even if you win the battle, your Pokemon's poisoned, and every few steps, your screen will like twitch, and that means it's taking poison damage. Your Pokemon can faint out of battle from poison even. Okay, and then also a badly poisoned Pokemon, because badly poisoned and poison are both poison, but badly poisoned hurts more. A badly poisoned Pokemon loses 1/6 of his maximum HP with cumulative damage for every succeeding turn. So, example is each instance of poison damage this way will have 1/16 added to total. The Pokemon loses 1/16 of his max HP for the first turn. On the next turn, they will lose 2/16, third turn, 3/16, until that Pokemon is dead. So badly damaged is like rolling damage. He'll take 1, then 2, then 3. Whereas normal poison, you'll take 1, take 1, take 1. You know? I hope this makes sense. But fun fact that I learned about badly poisoned. Should you find your Mon badly poisoned in a battle, and say he's been out for 4 turns, so that's going to be 4/16 damage on that turn, you can swap him out, recall him, switch Pokemon, and that counter returns to 1. He's still going to be badly poisoned, but at least if you have to bring him back in, he's going to be losing that 1/16 of damage again, and not 5/16, 6/16. You can kind of reset the timer like that. Some abilities worth noting in this bracket are immunity. They can't get poisoned. Magic Guard. They can't get indirect damage, so stuff like Poison, Sandstorm, that kind of chip damage. And Poison Heal. If your Pokemon has the ability Poison Heal and you find yourself poisoned, guess what? Instead of taking damage, you get heals every turn. Let's go. Which is kind of quirky, which is why there's items like Venom Ball, which I believe it's called Venom Ball, maybe it's not. But if your Pokemon's holding that item, they'll get poisoned as soon as the battle starts, and then you just have a way to heal. And if somebody's gonna have a quirky strategy of switching items, they are not poisoned. Good job. It's such a little shit way of doing it, and I love that strategy. Next is Paralysis. Not as in-depth as Poison. I see it used a lot less. Paralysis, this Pokemon's speed is significantly reduced and have a 1 out of 4 chance of being unable to move that turn. Abilities worth noting. Limber, this Pokemon will be protected from paralysis. This is normally like an electric type. I've seen bugs use it too with Stun Spore. This is kind of their thing. Next we got Burn. This one is so important. Okay, a Burn Pokemon loses 1/16 max HP at the end of every turn. This Pokemon's attack stat is also reduced while burnt. So this is super, super cool. I didn't know about this until like this generation. But say you're getting hit by your opponent's physical attacker. If you can get them burnt, their attack is like halved. They'll do way less damage, plus they're getting chip damage every turn. Super spicy. We'd love to see it. Some abilities worth noting. Water Veil. It'll prevent the Pokemon from getting a burn. Heat Proof. Weakens the power of Fire-type moves. And Flare Boost. Powers up special moves when burnt. Super good. Arcanine is such a good boy. He's one of my favorites. Love you, Arcanine. Alright. Sleep. When a Pokemon falls asleep, they will be unable to move until they wake up again. It will take 2 to 5 turns for the Pokemon to wake up. I forget your exact chances. I believe it's more than a coin flip. Like, it's like a 1 in 4, 1 in 5 to wake up every turn. But as, like, say you're asleep for 1 turn, you don't wake up. You're asleep, then, you know, you have a better chance on turn 2, 2, 3, until finally on your 5th one, you have to wake up. Some abilities worth noting. Insomnia. This will prevent the Pokemon from falling asleep. Vital Spirit. Prevent them from falling asleep. These I included too because they're kind of unique to the sleep condition. I don't know about any other conditions that kind of do this. But Worry Seed. The seed that causes worry in the implanted target. It prevents sleep by making the Pokemon's target insomnia. So you can literally use that move on somebody and it'll make them so they can't fall asleep. Sleep Talk. While asleep, the user will randomly use one of the moves it knows. Snore. The attack can be used only if the user is asleep. It's a harsh noise that makes the target flinch. Flinching just means they don't get a turn. Some other moves that do that are like Bite and Crunch. I love using these. It basically just shits on them. They don't get a turn. It sounds so simple, but it's so effective. Some other ones I always think about too is if you can put your opponent to sleep and you know somebody who has Dream Eater, that does really big damage. But Dream Eater only works if your opponent is sleeping. That used to be one of my favorite moves back in Red, is like, because what was it? Hypno? I think Hypno could learn it. Or I had a Hypno and I had a Haunter that knew Dream Eater. Either way, I loved that move combination. I thought it was so quirky. Freeze. This one's fun. A frozen Pokemon will be unable to move until they thaw out. If it will take a random amount of turns for the Pokemon to avoid being frozen. So like unlike Sleep, where if after 5 turns you're pretty much guaranteed to wake up, Freeze you're not. I've seen people be frozen for like 9-10 turns. It sucks, but boy is it nice if you can freeze somebody. Some abilities worth noting: Magma Armor, it'll prevent them from being frozen, and Sunny Day. So if Sunny Day's up, you can't be frozen. Simple as that. There's also a few other fire moves you can use should you find yourself encapsulated in ice with your fire type on the field. Oh, and unlike poison, like poison Pokemon can't be poisoned. Every other type of their like status condition can happen to them. So like an ice type, I believe it's less likely, but you can still be frozen even if you have an ice type. So your fire types can be frozen too. Moves like, I believe Flame Wheel is one of them. Flame Wheel, Flare Burst, something like that. That'll immediately bust you out of the frozen state and you'll be able to move. Confuse, my boy Slowpoke, he's another one of my favorites. Me getting hyped over my own PowerPoint that I made. Anyway, Confused. A confused Pokemon has the possibility of attacking and dealing damage to itself in the battle. A Pokemon capable of making itself faint due to attacking itself, Confusion is automatically covered after a few turns. So Confusion is both, in my opinion, the best and one of the worst status conditions. Confusion is very easy to break. I have a stupid idea. What will happen if you sleep on Snorlax? He seems sleepy already. The boy goes mega asleep. Confusion. So, if your Pokemon's confused, should you find it confused, this is interesting because if your special attacking Pokemon becomes confused, it won't hurt itself as bad as your physical attacking Pokemon. If you have a Pokemon that has more attack than special attack, so Confusion, when it's confused, it'll use its own attack versus its own defense, and that calculates your damage. So if you have a special attacker, and their attack's really low, they're not going to do as much damage to themselves. So that's just something to like, keep in mind. Some abilities worth noting: Own Tempo prevents the Pokemon from being confused. Tangled Feet will raise evasion once the Pokemon is confused. One other thing about Confusion is one of the reasons it's so easy to break out of it is because if you call that Pokemon back in its Pokeball and it's like switch out for somebody else, the confusion will be gone. It can be broken by just switching out or leaving the battle. So that's why, yeah, super cool they can hit themselves and do big number to themselves, but it's also super easy to just get rid of it. Curse. This one's pretty unique. I don't see this one used a whole lot. Curse. When a Ghost-type Pokemon uses the move Curse, the target will be cursed and take damage equivalent to 1/4 of the maximum HP every turn. No status condition is inflicted if a non-Ghost-type user uses the move Curse. Right, I'm glad I wrote that on there, because I was like, man, I hope I remember to talk about that. That's probably why I put it on there. So if any other Pokemon that's not a Ghost-type uses Curse, they won't lose HP. I believe it just like makes their attack or defense go down. It's nothing too crazy. So yeah, this status condition, very unique to only Ghost types can do it. Infatuation. This is another one I don't see used very often. It's very annoying when it does happen though. Infatuation. When a Pokemon uses this move Attract on the target of the opposite gender, The target Pokemon will become infatuated. Infatuated Pokemon sometimes refuse to attack the opposing Pokemon due to being immobilized by love. So it's like a really, really effective paralysis, basically. But that's the trade-off, is that it has to be done to the opposite sex. So, say your Jigglypuff is a girl, it can only use Attract if the opponent has a boy Pokemon on the field. And most competitive trainers don't care about the sex of the Pokemon, so you got like a 50-50 chance of being able to pull this off in a match. Oh, okay, we're nearing the end here. And this is just some like simple like baby rules, I guess, like the basics of the VGC, Video Game Championships. So in an official match, something to consider, and once we go on to like our next class, we'll talk more about team building, but this kind of leads into that, is that official matches are double battles. You bring 4 Pokemon and 2 are on the field at all times, unless, you know, you're down to your last guy. Seems kind of situational? Yes, very, very situational. Probably why no one uses Attract really anymore. I remember in Ruby, like Gen 3, I used it quite a bit, but again, that was just me messing around with some friends, so. But right. So, double battles, you get 4 Mons. You'll have to build teams. Yes, there is meta. There's meta teams you can make, meta Pokemon to choose. Stuff that everyone brings, but my advice, just pick your faves. Bring your faves. This is why I have this guy in every single one of my teams. He's my favorite, and I'm never letting go of him. But yeah, I plan to do another PowerPoint class thing, talking more about team building, and kind of showing off more in depth, maybe, how to get your Mons ready, how to pick teams, what's meta, what's not, what all the tiers mean. I was going to include that in this one, but I don't think my vocal cords could hold out talking that long all at once. So we're going to have separate classes for everything. And that's the end! Yay! This is super nice, super fun! Woo! Anyway, I had fun. I'm super happy I did this. I love Pokemon. The battling is so fun. What was it? I believe right now, my team that I'm running in Scarlet is... Oh, hold on. Now that we finished the slideshow, we can just chat a little bit. Hello? Oh, there I am. Right now, the team I have in Scarlet is kind of all over the place. I have Hisuian Typhlosion, Hisuian Samurott, Hisuian Decidueye, Clefable. Yeah, I don't remember the other one. The other 2. Oh, I believe one was Lycanroc. But yeah, I'm literally just running all of my favorites. I am such a big fan of the Legends Arceus, so if I can use a Hisuian form of the Pokemon, I will. And we just had all those raids in Scarlet and Violet for the Hisuian forms. So I'm going to be having them on my team forever now. But yeah, I guess I was going to use this time for like kind of Q&A if there was any questions, otherwise we just chat for a bit. Oh, and Pokemon Go too. The season's about to change, so we're about to get a whole bunch of not new, but different Pokemon spawns. And we're finally going to be able to get rid of some of the gifts that are in our inventory. Because, like, for the longest time, it was, like, the Seasons of Gifts, or Seasons of Gratitude, or whatever. So we could have, like, twice as many gifts in our inventory, but, like, we weren't allowed to have twice as many friends. So we couldn't send the gifts, and so they've just been clogging up our bag for the longest time. So it's going to be super fun to get rid of that. Oh, but, like, the reason I was also so hyped about that is because, like, on the cover, or the loading screen, I guess, it shows me a whole bunch of Hisuians now. And so I'm like, oh my god, yay! I'm finally gonna get Hisuian Typhlosion and Go. I love him so much. He's my absolute favorite. Oh, I love him. And Ghost Fire is such a banger type match, like duo type to have. No, Alohan Marowak, I believe, had it too. And he was super cool. There isn't a single fire ghost that isn't cool. Skeledirge, cool. Same with Ghost Fairy. I think that's a really cool typing too. What else has been happening? But yeah, the last part of the DLC for Scarlet and Violet is coming out later this month. They're gonna add 19th type, so that's gonna be really exciting to see how that like goes into the other 18 types they have, you know? How is it gonna have a matchup? What's gonna be strong against it? What's gonna be weak to it? I'm super excited to see how this goes. Also, they're gonna be changing it so some Pokemon Terra types, like instead of having just a big crystal hat, they're gonna have them be like crystal forms and look different. It's gonna be super cool. I'm excited to see what all comes of it. Yeah. I guess we're gonna wrap up this quote, air quotes on class. It was super beginner, but I had fun making it. I hope y'all learned something. I plan to do a more in-depth one about getting into more specifics. But yeah, thanks for coming and watching and listening to me talk about Pokemon. I appreciate it. My roommates are all getting kind of sick of me talking about it, so I needed to do this for me. I guess other update, or the next stream's gonna be tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're gonna be playing Cult of the Lamb, extra hard, 100% runs. It's going great. We're gonna be defeating our second boss. Fingers crossed. Hopefully. I don't plan on ending the stream tomorrow until we beat that next bishop. He's going down. Was very interesting. Looking forward to 202. Yay! Thank you, thank you. I'm glad you found it interesting. Man, that's super great. And even though you don't play Pokemon, it was interesting. That like super makes me happy. You have no idea. Thank you. But other than that, I hope everyone has a good day, morning, evening, night, whatever it was for you. It's me, Hoshinonya. Bye bye.